Hi, this is Isabel Florence, and you are listening to You Are Light podcast, a safe space where we talk about mental health and well-being.
Hello, my lovely. Welcome back. Thank you for being here. I'm not going to lie to you. I had quite a difficult week and I contemplated not recording a podcast this week. But the truth is, they make me feel better. And it makes me feel better to know that I am helping other people in whatever way that I can with the things that I'm learning about. So I want to thank you for being here because when I have difficult moments in my life, knowing that I am able to support another human being is the thing that gives me comfort and peace. So thank you. Today we're going to talk about Stoicism, and it's a fascinating philosophy, something that I have been wanting to talk about for a really long time, and it might take me more than one episode. So first I want to tell you how I learned about it and what was my first thought about what Stoicism is. I came across it a few years ago when I picked up a book by Marcus Aurelius called Meditations. Do I have that book here? I found it. This is it. Marcus Aurelius Meditations. So I'm pretty sure I found this book around the time that I was studying Buddhism and also reading about Hindu philosophy. I was reading the Upanishads, and it was so interesting to me how many correlations I could find in the three philosophies. This book had a huge impact in my life. And the thing that I was most impressed about and surprised about was that this huge emperor, someone who had so much power, so much money, was deeply self-reflective, and everything that he wrote in this wasn't to gain more power, to gain more following, to influence the masses. It was all for himself, things that he had learned through his life. It was a collection of personal writing, essentially journaling. And it's the kind of practice that I believe can be so beneficial in our lives when it comes to finding happiness and peace within. He was looking for self-growth, even though he was someone who, in the eyes of the public, had achieved everything he might have wanted. He was an emperor facing so many challenges: wars, political unrest, the plague. And with all these challenges in his mind, he was able to rely on Stoicism, so to stay calm in the face of so many adversities and intense times in his life. He was able to understand the power of accepting what cannot be controlled, what cannot be changed. And this is something that I struggle with, and I think this is why it was so revealing to me to read this book. Also, when I read about the sabbaticals that he would practice, again, someone who had so much, who lived in incredible luxury and surrounded by power. And at the same time, he was someone who, for several weeks in the year, would go away, camp, live very simply, eating cheap foods and wearing very cheap garments, camping in the wilderness and just connecting to nature, living off the land for a few weeks. He used that time to reflect on his role as an emperor and on all of the decisions that he was making, and at the same time to ground himself and reconnect to nature. To me, this is a really, really beautiful image. Understanding that someone who has a lot of power, who has a lot of yang energy, can also touch the yin and use the power of reflection and taking some time, taking a break from luxury, from comfort, from stimulation. He understood the importance of every year reconnecting to the beauty of the simplicity in life. And this is something that I really strive for. And I think it's a lesson that we can all learn from him and from Stoics, especially in today's society when all we're told is material possessions are the things that have the most value, and external validation is the thing that we should all seek, when actually deep down it doesn't fulfill you. Interestingly, this is the struggle that I've been going through this week. And even though I chose to step away from the things that I am dealing with consciously. Subconsciously, I'm still taking back to learning the lessons that I need to learn this week. So I'm thankful. So, what is Stoicism? Stoicism is an ancient philosophy. Stoics believe that the only thing that we can control in our lives is our own character. And so, therefore, we should strive to build the best character we can. Stoics also believe that we shouldn't be controlled by our emotions, that we should use reason to guide our actions and decisions. Nowadays, there is a little bit of a backlash from people when we talk about the emotions not controlling us and taking reason into account so much, because it may seem like you're trying to disconnect from your intuition and from your feelings. I don't think it's necessarily the case, but we can dive deeper into that next week. Stoics also believe that the connection to nature that we have to build as a human being is very important, and that we should all be living in harmony with nature. The origin of Stoicism was around 301 BC. A wealthy merchant called Zeno had a ship laden with his cargo, so all of his precious possessions. There was a storm and his ship sank, so he lost everything. He found himself without all of the things that he saw value in for a very long time. He then encountered a bookstore owned by a philosopher known for his simple lifestyle. Zeno then became a student of this philosopher and learned from his teachings. He then developed Stoicism. He realized that true happiness does not come from external possessions, from success and social status, but actually from cultivating virtue, living in harmony with nature, and accepting what is beyond your control. So, those are the three main ideas of Stoicism, the three pillars of this philosophy. So, virtue, reason, and living in agreement with nature, cultivating your wisdom, your courage, preserving some control of our emotions and thoughts, understanding that you are not your thoughts and your emotions, but you're outside of it as someone observing it, and accepting the things that we cannot control, which is what is in the core of our lives, in the core of nature. The fact that everything changes, everything ends, and we have no control over it. And I believe that because these lessons are so profound, they transcend time in a really beautiful way. In the modern world that we live right now, there are so many things that we can take from the pillars of this philosophy. Stoicism offers a practical and timeless structure, framework that can enhance our well being, our sense of peace within ourselves, mental resilience, and a sense of gratitude for the simple things in life. I think, especially in the modern world, it's important to go back to these very profound lessons. Nowadays, we are bombarded with news from all over the world. We are looking at deep suffering and true horror. Stoicism teaches us to detach from the things that we can't control, to detach from external stresses and focus on inner calm. It also, in a society that again tells us that the value is in the external possessions and gratification, shows us that we should be focusing on our relationships, on our character, on creating the being that you should be proud of becoming, rather than on fleeting material achievements or external rewards. Nowadays, too many of us are glued to our phones, glued to the internet, to the media. They knew very early on how important it was to disconnect to the ideas of success and happiness that society puts on you, and to remind ourselves that the simplest of things are the things that makes us happy. Connection to our loved ones, connection to nature, acceptance of change and the volatility of life. If they knew that then, when there wasn't any iPhones or computers, it is definitely something that we should be focusing on now, when the influence is so much greater. Next week, we're going to look at the lessons that we've learned from Stoicism this week and how can we practically incorporate them into our lives. All right. I hope you enjoy this episode. If you get a chance to read further on Stoicism, I would suggest you do. It's really fascinating. I love you very much, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. All the links are written down on the show notes, as well as resources for anyone struggling with their mental health. Don't forget to subscribe so you're notified when we release new episodes. Also, feel free to share our podcast with your friends and family. And if you'd like to get involved, explore our content, or support our work, visit our website www.yourlight.earth. That's YOUR-light.earth. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at u.r.light. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time.
Remember that all is but opinion, and all opinion depends on the mind. Take thine opinion away, and then as a ship that hath stricken in within the arms and mouth of the harbour, a present calm, all things safe and steady, a bay not capable of any storms and tempests, as the poet hath it.